As you know, I always start side 2 by mentioning that our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon and Harry Breur. It's performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, who's kindly given his permission for us to use it. And now here's Elizabeth with the first item of sport.
Athletics. Isabelle Boffet expressed her delight after she claimed gold over 800 metres at the school games. Heading to Manchester's regional centre, the 15-year-old from Enfield and Haringey Athletic Club was already able to toast a successful season, which saw her triumph in the England Under-17 Championships, the England Schools Championships and the Schools International. And Boffet continued her run of victories by crossing the line first on Friday, clocking up a time of 2 minutes 14.43 seconds to pick up yet another gold medal. And this is about table tennis. Rising table tennis star Denise Payet picked up gold and silver medals from the Sainsbury School Games in Manchester. The 14-year-old Enfield County School student helped the England South squad to secure the team title and also reach the final of the individual singles during 3 intense days of competition, which concluded on Sunday.
In football news, Enfield Town will hope to put their struggles in the league behind them on Saturday when they begin their FA Cup campaign with a tough trip to Ryman Premier Division rivals Billericay Town in the first qualifying round at 3 p.m. Having climbed out of the relegation zone with a 1-1 draw at Bognor Regis Town on Saturday, when they came within minutes of securing just their second league win of the season, Town dropped back into the bottom 4 last night as a result of their 2-0 defeat at high-flying Leiston and Lewes' shock 4-0 victory over Hampton and Richmond Borough. Bradley Quinton's men will have their work cut out against Billericay at a ground where they've traditionally struggled, having already lost their 3-0 in the league this season and endured a 5-0 reversal last time around. Cockfoster's involvement in the FA Vase came to an end on Wednesday night with a 3-2 defeat at Greenhouse Sports in their first qualifying round replay. Saturday's initial tie had seen Cockfosters do well to overturn a 2-goal deficit to secure a thrilling 3-3 draw and set up last night's showdown against the Essex Senior League outfit. And the defensive frailties which have been apparent in the Reds' recent matches again came to the fore in Wednesday's match as they were narrowly beaten in another hugely entertaining contest. Meanwhile, Saturday sees Cockfosters turning their attention back to the FA Cup when they visit Ryman Division 1 North outfit Bury Town, who were relegated from the Ryman Premier Division last season, in the first qualifying round at 3 p.m. Enfield, 1893, bowed out of the FA Vase in the first qualifying round on Saturday as a last-gasp goal condemned them to a 2-1 defeat in extra time at Debenham LC.
Here's the latest from the cricket. A successful season for Southgate ended on a high note. They produced a fine performance to win by 85 runs at Ealing on Saturday, having achieved their main goal of avoiding relegation from the Premier Division of the Middlesex County Cricket League in their first year back in the top flight of the previous week. Southgate turned on the style to outplay a side who had been crowned National Club 2020 champions just days earlier as they collected their 5th win in 6 matches. Jim Gatting confirmed his status as the leading run scorer in the entire Middlesex County Cricket League this season in fine style by scoring another century to help Winchmore Hill end their campaign in Division 3 with an 86-run victory at home to MTSSC on Saturday. A dreadful start to the season ultimately scuppered Hill's hopes of making an immediate return to Division 2, but their form in the second half of the campaign has been as good as anyone's, and this latest triumph ensured that they claimed 3rd spot in the final table. An inability to turn strong positions into victories has been a problem for Enfield throughout the season, and this was again the case on Saturday as they ended their campaign in Division 2 of the Middlesex County Cricket League with a winning draw at Hornsey. Enfield have picked up more winning draws than any other team in the division and would have been a genuine candidate for promotion had they managed to pick up maximum points in the majority of those games. Botany Bay continued their meteoric rise through the Saracens' Hertfordshire County Cricket League by claiming the championship title on Saturday with a 5-wicket win at home to Hoddesdon. The hosts held their nerve on the big occasion as they overcame a few anxious moments to cruise to a triumph which confirmed a remarkable 6 successive promotion for a side who were playing in Division 5 as recently as 2010.
Rugby. Coach Ali Cook was satisfied with Enfield Ignatian's performance, even though the rugby club suffered a 19-10 defeat in their latest pre-season friendly at Saffron Walden on Saturday. Ignatians began strongly, and tries from Robert Rigby and Wes Warren enabled them to race to a 10-0 lead, but the hosts hit back well and closed their deficit to just 3 points at the interval with a converted try. And Saffron Walden went on to dominate the second half as they scored 2 more tries to emerge victorious. And now we've got a cycle of items about cycles.
Supporters of Cycle Enfield have expressed support for the scheme in the face of outdated critical thinking from members of the borough's business community, writes Lucy Purdy. Enfield was chosen as one of 3 main winners in the Greater London Authority's Mini Holland Fund, receiving nearly £30 million towards making the cycling environment more attractive. After reading about the Save Our Green Lanes campaign group's scathing attack on the consultation, with concerns centred around a loss of on-street parking in green lanes, people contacted the advertiser to express their support for the project. Cycling is a healthier, more environmentally friendly, enjoyable and less congesting way to get around, they say. So why not work together to seize this opportunity for the benefit of all?
Here's the view from Claire Rogers, 43, who's a freelance editor, a mother of 2, and has been a Palmer's Green resident for 18 years. Passionate about encouraging active and independent travel in children, she said she immediately felt really excited to hear of the cycling proposals. If children are driven everywhere by car, which is what we increasingly do as parents, it has an impact upon their sense of independence and their emotional development, she told the advertiser. On researching air pollution levels in London and reading a blog, The View from the Cycle Path by David Hembrow, she made an on-the-spot decision not to use the car for the school run again. Instead, I cycle to school with my daughters, 8 and 11, on the pavement as they don't feel safe on the road, she said. My 8-year-old has travelled to school independently, which I encourage because I want my children to grow up to be independent and confident. To squander the multi-million-pound fund, she said, would be a missed opportunity, and she believes the proposals would have a transformational impact on the economies of Palmer's Green and Winchmore Hill. To those opposing the cycle lanes, I do understand their anxiety in facing change, she added. The positive changes that cycle infrastructure brings can be surprising even for those who are in favour, such as cycle lanes in New York, reducing accidents to pedestrians and increasing local retail sales. None of that had been predicted. Closer to home, Waltham Forest's Mini Holland scheme has made some daring changes. Many residents who opposed the plans changed their minds when trials showed they were getting a more pleasant environment and none of the traffic chaos they'd expected.
And here's some thoughts from Andrew Larson, 36, who's a director of a software company and father of 2, and he lives near Broomfield Park in Palmer's Green. Most of the people I'm speaking to while campaigning on behalf of the Enfield Cycle campaign are actually supportive of the scheme, explained Mr. Larson. He claimed that the biggest barrier to cycling is perceived risk and believes that creating cycle lanes, slowing down and reducing traffic will be good for all. There are so many benefits to this scheme, he said. I'm keen on cycling, but first and foremost I'm a parent and a local resident, and I care much more about the idea of living in a nice place and wouldn't want a scheme that was good for cyclists at the expense of the local area. My family and I regularly go to Palmer's Green and Winchmore Hill using public transport as well as walking and cycling, but I'm also a driver. He points to the hundreds of planned new houses in Palmer's Green, many of which will have no parking provision. Enfield needs to change, he said. Populations in the outer boroughs like this are only going to get more dense as time goes on, so we need to build transport that is appropriate to the next century rather than the last century. We need alternatives to the car, and we don't have the space to just keep putting more and more cars on the road. A lot of people thinking is just outdated.
Andrew Lachlan, aged 57, is a Southgate Cycling Club member and borough coordinator for the London cycling campaign in Enfield. While approximately half of residents own a bike, only a tiny fraction of these actually use them on the borough's roads, said Mr. Lachlan. The reason is a fear of traffic and fear of being knocked over. People don't even have the confidence to be able to get to the local shops safely on a bike, he said. Mr. Lachlan cycles to his work at a software company in Liverpool Street each day, allowing him to incorporate exercise into his daily routine, as well as riding out on Sundays with the friendly and fun Southgate Cycling Club. In the mornings, I pass so many cars stuck in queues, and the journey also gives me valuable time to think, he said. In any case, the money isn't proposed to go simply on cycling provision, he points out, but it's about improving the area itself. There's evidence that increasing the number of cyclists through creating cycle paths has a positive impact upon the entire environment of an area, including on the value of houses, he added. I've run businesses in the past, and I understand that business owners feel threatened, but I really don't see that cycling paths are going to destroy anybody's business. I think people are just scared of change, and then it becomes difficult to persuade somebody that change may be to their benefit. I'd love to invite anybody to come out on a ride with a cycling club and see what it's all about.
This is a letter from G.A. Musey from Mitchell Road, Palmer's Green, who writes, "How strong is the case for cycle lanes along green lanes? Surely this should be determined by the number of casualties and who was to blame. So far, Cycle Enfield has ignored them in a discussion that suggests cycling is a low-risk activity. It's obvious that cycle lanes along bus routes will conflict with pedestrians at bus stops unless the bus is given priority for space to safeguard its passengers. It's a daft idea to mix passengers with cyclists. Green lanes between Hedge Lane and the 406 is already a traffic congested area, and the addition of 2 cycle lanes will make it more congested and polluted. If green lanes is a high priority for cycle safety, why does it stop at the A406 and not continue to the Wood Green border? Cycle Enfield is a major traffic project costing £41 million. So far, we've been asked to comment on individual maps of proposals. Will they be brought together in a final printed, detailed, costed report containing an impact assessment, which is normal practice with major projects? And should Enfield's residents be given a referendum within the terms of the Localism Act to determine the way ahead?
The grounds of Forty Hall echoed to the sound of traditional music, singing and dancing during the second annual Ukrainian Festival. The Spirit of Ukraine Festival attracted hundreds of people from across the UK to the estate in Forty Hill, Enfield on Sunday. With food and handicraft stalls, choirs from the Ukrainian Catholic and Orthodox churches in London, dance troupes and music troupes in brightly embroidered costumes from Coventry and Stockport, as well as London, the festival proved a hit with young and old. Organiser Roman Pasica, chairman of the Waltham Forest branch of the Association of Ukrainians in Great Britain, who organised the festival with the Friends of Forty Hall, said, "For the second year running, we had an amazing day. The sun shone and hundreds of people attended. The food was very popular. They cooked 5,000 vareniki, a kind of dumpling, and sold out before the end of the day. A star attraction was the top chef and cookery writer, Olia Hercules. There was a long queue at her stall all day."
Smokers are being urged to ditch the habit by taking part in a challenge to last a month without lighting up. In preparation for Stoptober, the national campaign in October to get smokers to stop for good, Enfield Council will be distributing information about quitting cigarettes outside Edmonton Green's Asda supermarket between noon and 4 p.m. tomorrow. Neko Kazar, Cabinet Member for Public Health and Sport, said, "Research shows that if people can last for a month without smoking, they are 5 times more likely to stop for good. So we want more smokers to try this challenge. We will be handing out information about smoking cessation courses in the borough and advise about the aids that can help." She reminded residents that smoking in cars in the presence of children becomes illegal from October the 1st, with offenders risking a fixed penalty of £50, which is enforceable by police. Ms. Kazar added, "Smokers who quit the habit are giving themselves the best gift. No longer needing to smoke, they save money, feel fitter, enjoy tasty food, and live longer." In Enfield, smoking is becoming increasingly unpopular, with about 5,000 fewer people smoking than there were 2 years ago. The challenge now is to reduce the number of people smoking even further.
Ponders End's Alma estate is poised to undergo a facelift after large-scale plans for its regeneration were passed at a council meeting last week. Countryside Properties scheme to transform the estate was given the green light by members of Enfield Council's Planning Committee. The phased regeneration project will involve the demolition of the 4 recognisable pastel-hued towers, Cormorant House, Curlew House, Kestrel House and Merlin House, as well as some properties in Silver Birch Court, Fairfield Close, Alma Road, Napier Road, Scotland Green Road and South Street. Ponders End Youth Centre and Welcome Point Community Centre will also be demolished. Some 990 homes, a maximum of 636 square metres of retail outlets, restaurants, cafes, a community centre and youth centre, a gym and a medical centre will be built in their place. Ahmet Oykner, the Cabinet Member for Housing and Housing Regeneration, said, "The regeneration of the Alma estate and surrounding area is an opportunity to improve the quality of life and housing standards for hundreds of people and transform an iconic part of Ponders End into a more desirable and attractive place in which to live. I'm therefore delighted that our ambitious but deliverable aspirations for the Alma estate have been given the green light by the Council's Planning Committee, and I look forward to development of the site starting as soon as possible. The development is expected to take shape over 7 phases of demolition and construction and to be completed by 2026.
An investigation into how a man was shot 5 times by police has been launched. James Fox, 43, was shot dead by police at his flat in Picardy House, Cider Lane, Enfield, on August the 30th after receiving concerns he had a firearm. Investigators have now revealed that 5 shots were fired by 2 officers that killed Mr. Fox. Independent Police Complaints Commissioner Cindy Butt said, "Our investigators are appealing for anyone with any information about this serious incident to contact the IPCC. The investigation is looking into the circumstances surrounding Mr. Fox's death and the actions of the police that evening. We have made contact with Mr. Fox's family to explain our role and how the investigation will progress." Investigators visited homes in the block of flats last Thursday as they trawled through CCTV footage in the area and are looking for witnesses. Anyone with information is asked to call the IPCC on 0800 096 9070.
Fears that 3 friends may have been racing their car when it fatally crashed has prompted a new investigation into what happened. Jawad Qureshi, 28, of Headstone Drive, Harrow, died in the crash on the North Circular Road near the junction with Natal Road in Palmer's Green on December the 23rd, 2013. His 2 passengers, Tahid Rabbani, 34, of Litchfield Gardens, Willesden, and Haida Qureshi, 28, of Westfield Close, Kingsbury, also lost their lives in the crash, which happened just after midnight. The three were in a Subaru travelling westbound, which hit the central reservation before colliding with a lorry travelling eastbound and catching fire. At an inquest at North London Coroner's Court in Barnet, the court heard the trio had attended an unofficial car meeting at the McDonald's car park on the A10 in Enfield that evening. The three men then travelled back towards Harrow in convoy with three other cars along the North Circular, including a Vauxhall Astra and two Volkswagen Golfs. Abdul Hussain, who was driving one of the Golf cars, told DC Ranat Sakon that he was merely passenger. But he admitted he lied and told the court he said that because he was not insured and because he was afraid of telling the police. He also said his car was 15 to 20 car spaces ahead of the crash when it happened. Witness Ramsey Subber was a passenger in the second Golf and told the court he could not remember whether the cars were racing, even though the day after the crash he admitted they were racing. Forensic evidence also suggests they were racing. As a result, Coroner Andrew Walker was left unconvinced by the facts surrounding the case. Evidence from a report by Detective Chris Thorne found the Subaru could have been travelling between 60 to 80 miles per hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone when hitting the reservation and then colliding with the lorry. Coroner Walker admitted new evidence on the racing on the A406 and who was driving the cars meant the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, should reopen its investigation to determine whether someone was responsible for their deaths. He scheduled an inquest for 2 months' time to check if the CPS would take on the case. Family member Siad Qureshi was happy with the outcome and demanded answers.
Extending his property has proved costly for one homeowner as he forks out more than £5,000 in fines. Yasin Mohammed Hassan of Madcalf Road, Enfield, was found guilty of failing to comply with planning regulations after building an extension to his home in March 2012. Following a complaint in 2012, it was revealed that Mr. Mohammed Hassan had not sought planning permission for his extension and was asked by the council to reduce it to a maximum of 3 metres by September 2013. On October the 23rd, 2013, an officer visited the premises and saw that no action had been taken to reduce the structure. Mohammed Hassan was summoned to court in 2014 to answer why he had not complied with the enforcement notice. At the hearing on May 22nd, he pleaded not guilty. On August the 28th, he was sentenced by the judge who said, in his opinion, the defendant had been foolish. The judge also remarked this was a fight he could not win and advised that if Mr. Mohammed Hassan did not alter the extension, he would incur further costs. He was fined £5,500 in costs and a victim surcharge of £100 at Wood Green Crown Court. Councillor Daniel Anderson, Cabinet Member for Environment, said, "Planning rules are there to protect residents from inappropriate and disruptive developments. It is completely unacceptable for any individual to ignore the law and any instructions to modify a structure when the council intervenes. The ruling by the court is a clear warning to people who build without consideration to their neighbours or their surroundings and think they can do whatever they want regardless of the impact their activities may have on people living near their homes. We will not tolerate anyone who displays a calculated disregard for the law and cynical indifference to the effect of their actions on their neighbours."
An investigation has been launched into police contact with a man who was arrested following a drugs raid and then died. The 25-year-old was detained following the raid, but then told officers he had taken drugs. Officers called for an ambulance and he was taken to North Middlesex Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, where he died on Friday. That was on August the 21st, 2 days after the arrest. The investigation will look at the execution of the warrant, any use of restraint, and the level of care provided to the victim. The Independent Police Complaints Commission are appealing to witnesses of the arrest between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. at Berwick Close in Waltham Cross. Anyone with information can call the IPCC Incident Inquiry Line on 0800 151 0021, that's 0800 151 0021, or email berwick-close at ipcc.gsi.gov.uk.
Wildlife and residents will suffer if a developer is allowed to build on a cherished part of Enfield's green belt, campaigners say. A proposal by Fairview New Homes to build on land near Cotswolds Way and Enfield Road opposite Trent Park in Oakwood has prompted concern from people who live nearby. They say that to build on the plot, designated as an area of special character and home to several protected oak trees, as well as a stretch of historic hedgerow, would take away from the history of Enfield. The land in question is owned by the Diocese of London, which is thought to have entered into an agreement with Fairview in 2010 to manage the land on its behalf. On hearing that Fairview intends to submit a planning application for a school, a further education college and about 300 homes, residents formed a group to monitor the situation. One of those involved, Ian, said, "The view and the beauty of this land can't be denied, and the field is packed with wildlife. Residents have reported seeing owls, bats, hedgehogs, birds, including woodpeckers and muntjac deer. We also have to consider the footfall that will be created by the homes and the school traffic that will be generated. Bingcote Road already gets congested in the mornings and evenings, and any problems on the M25 mean more traffic here. The green belt is very important to residents, and we feel that a company like Fairview will only take away from the history of Enfield." A Fairview spokesman said he understood the immediate concerns from residents regarding the potential development proposals for the site and was committed to addressing them. He added, "We'll be holding our first set of public exhibitions in September, details of which will be circulated in the coming weeks. These exhibitions will explain the opportunities for the site in greater detail and give local people a chance to leave their feedback, ask questions about proposals and discuss any further issues they have, such as transport, with members of the project team. We will keep the local community fully informed of our plans for the site as they progress. At this stage, no formal planning application has been submitted by Fairview. However, the company has requested what is referred to as the scoping option, whereby a developer asks the planning authority to assess the feasibility of a potential plan, which would in this instance involve building an 8-form entry secondary school with a 4-form entry 6th-form college and housing.
More than 150 young people will be able to hone their creative skills after a £45,000 grant was given to a theatre. Chicken Shed Inclusive Theatre in Cockfosters was given the grant by the Andrew Lloyd Webber Foundation. It'll be given to the theatre over the next 3 years and go towards the Young Creators Programme, where 165 people aged 14 to 25 gain creative skills and practical work experience in 10 different disciplines that are related to behind-the-scenes areas of the performing arts.
Oh well, we've reached the end of our programme for this week. Don't forget your reader's representative, Diane de Jersey, is on 020 8805 6578 if you need any help with the talking newspaper. And please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible so we can send out the next edition. And that will be with you in 1 week's time. Thanks for being with us. From me, Malcolm, Elizabeth, Ros, Caroline and Jason, goodbye. Bye.